Number 10. Chase Bishop. 29-year-old FBI agent Chase Bishop was at the Mile High Spirits Bar in Denver in the summer of 2018. It was past midnight when the FBI agent went on the dance floor with a crowd gathered around him. As he did a backflip, his service gun fell out of his waistband holder. Bishop then tried to retrieve the firearm and it discharged as soon as he touched it. A bystander identified as Julie recorded the incident with her cell phone. In the footage, Bishop can be seen simply turning his back and walking away with his hands in the air, even though his gun had just gone off in a crowded bar. In the incident, a man was shot in the leg and the emergency services were called to the scene. A few days later, Bishop turned himself in and was detained by Denver police before being picked up by an FBI supervisor. Number 9. Tyrion Pouncey. 19-year-old Tyrion Pouncey accidentally shot himself after robbing a hot dog stand in Chicago's Southside neighborhood. He held 2 employees at gunpoint and demanded the money from the cash register and their wallets while holding a bucket of grease. The men complied, and as they were handing him the valuables, the bucket of grease spilled. The money went flying, but Pouncey quickly grabbed it and fled, tucking the gun in his waistband. As he ran away, the weapon discharged and the man was shot in the penis. After a few blocks, he called 911 and police arrested him at the hospital. He was charged with 2 counts of robbery. The extent of the damage from the shooting was not released to the press. Number 8. Woman in Moscow. In May 2015, an unnamed 21-year-old Russian woman accidentally shot herself in the temple while trying to take a selfie. The gun had been left behind by the security guard at her workplace, who was on holiday at the time of the incident. When the young woman found the 9mm gun, she didn't turn it in. Instead, she posed for a selfie while pointing it at her head. Holding phone with one hand and the gun with the other, she accidentally pulled the trigger at close range. She was taken to Sklifovodsky Hospital in Moscow, where the doctors managed to stabilize her condition. The gun's owner reportedly faced 6 months in prison for negligent storage of a deadly weapon. Number 7. Bruno Catina. Unlike the other incidents on our list, this one doesn't involve a firearm but a harpoon gun. In April 2013, Brazilian man Bruno Catina was cleaning the gun which he used for fishing. He accidentally set it off and the 6-inch harpoon went through his left eye socket and became lodged in his skull. Amazingly, the man was still conscious and managed to call for help. He arrived at the Santa Teresa Hospital in Petropolis 10 hours after the accident, still lucid. After a 4-hour surgery, the doctors removed the harpoon. Not only did Catino survive the accident, but he didn't suffer any brain damage. Doctors weren't successful in restoring the vision in his left eye as the injury was too severe. Catino's case is quite remarkable as, according to the doctors, the harpoon missed every major artery inside his skull by millimeters. Number 6. Darnal Mundi. 3-year-old Darnal Mundi almost lost his life in August 2015 in an incident that involved firing a gun straight through the middle of his face at point-blank range. The toddler took the loaded weapons from a drawer in his parents' bedroom. Both parents were asleep at the time, only a few feet from him. They were awakened by a deafening sound that echoed through their Miami home. The 3-year-old had pointed the gun at his face and pulled the trigger. They rushed Darnal to the hospital. Even though the 9mm bullet had gone straight through the center of his head, the boy was still alive. There was swelling in his brain and a large blood clot. The surgery involved removing a part of his skull to ease the swelling. Darnal spent the next 3 weeks in a coma and had to be fed through a tube. Once he woke up, he couldn't move, speak, or even breathe. Doctors told the parents that the road to recovery would be very long, but Darnal defied all expectations. He slowly regained most of his abilities before his 4th birthday. The doctors have said that such a miraculous recovery would have been impossible for an adult. When news of the incident broke, many people blamed the parents for leaving a loaded gun in the reach of their young son, and that his mother, who worked as a security guard, should have known better. The woman claimed that she and her husband kept guns in the house for their own protection and that they would continue to do so. However, she added that, in light of the incident, they would keep the firearms locked up. Number 5. Dustin Satterley. On February the 22nd, 2019, Dustin Satterley and Chad Hammond were in an apartment in Marion, Indiana, when an accidental shooting occurred. When the police arrived at the scene, they found Satterley in the bathroom with a gunshot injury on the right side of his neck. They asked Hammond about it, but he initially told them he wasn't in the bathroom when the gun was fired and that he thought the shooting was accidental. However, he later revealed that he and Satterley were in the bathroom together to do drugs, and that he brought the gun with him. Even though he'd taken the magazine out, there was still a bullet in the chamber. According to him, the gun went off as he was showing it to Satterley. He called the police and tried to stop the bleeding until they arrived on the scene. Recent reports indicate that although Satterley's life was saved, the accidental shooting left him paralyzed from the neck down. Number 4. Michaela Bowling. One of the main aspects the gun manuals and training protocols remind owners is to make sure the gun is pointed in a safe direction and unloaded before they start to clean it. One evening in July 2018, Michaela Bowling's father was cleaning his handgun at their home in Washington County, Indiana. At about 10:30, the local emergency services received a 911 call about an accidental shooting. He assumed the firearm wasn't loaded, but that wasn't the case. While cleaning it, the gun discharged and the bullet struck 6-year-old Michaela in the head. An air ambulance took her to Norton Children's Hospital in Louisville, where she was soon pronounced dead. The police investigation revealed no indication of foul play and considered the shooting to have been accidental. Number 3. Thomas Edward Macri. Even people with extensive training in handling guns should take all the necessary precautions when operating one. 56-year-old Thomas Edward Macri was a beloved member of his community and the police chief of Bessemer Borough in Lawrence County, Pennsylvania. He'd been in law enforcement for over 30 years and retired from the Newcastle Police Department. In September 2015, the police chief was alone in his home cleaning his .40 caliber handgun when he accidentally shot himself in the chest. He was found by his girlfriend and taken to a local hospital. He died an hour and a half after arrival. According to police officials, the type of weapon that Macri had could easily discharge, and they'd encountered similar incidents before. Number 2. Isabelle Marie Hellum. In 2018, 4-year-old Isabelle Marie Hellum was fatally shot in the head by her 3-year-old brother. The toddler reportedly found an unsecured gun, which he pointed at his sister, and the firearm discharged. The accidental shooting occurred while the children were at their grandparents' home in Lebanon, Indiana. The mother, Brianna, is enlisted in the U.S. Army and was on assignment at Fort Knox at the time. They had recently celebrated Isabelle's birthday before the tragedy occurred. In the aftermath of the incident, the family sought counseling for the boy to help him cope with what had happened. Number 1. Caitlyn Alex. On January 24, 2019, St. Louis police officer Caitlyn Alex was fatally shot by one of her colleagues as the two of them were playing with a firearm. A probable cause statement released by the authorities says that Alex was off duty when she went to the apartment of Officer Nathaniel Hendren. She arrived at his home at some point before midnight. Hendren's partner was also present in the apartment, and both men were on duty at the time. The 3 officers were reportedly drinking alcohol, and at one point, Hendren and Alex started playing with their guns. Hendren then pulled out a revolver, a non-service weapon. He and Alex started playing Russian roulette. Hendren emptied the gun, placed a single bullet inside, and then spun the cylinder. He pulled the trigger, pointing the gun away, but it didn't fire. He then passed it to Alex, who pointed it at him and pulled the trigger. Again, the gun didn't fire. Then it was Alex's turn. Hendren's partner reportedly felt uncomfortable telling them that they were police officers and shouldn't play with guns. He left the room, but before he could leave the apartment, he heard a gunshot. Alex had been shot in the chest. At 12:56 a.m., police officers responded to a call for officer in need of aid. Hendren and his partner took Alex to St. Louis University Hospital, where the 24-year-old officer was soon pronounced dead. The authorities initially described the incident as a case of a mishandled gun. Hendren was then charged with armed criminal action and involuntary manslaughter. He faces up to 10 years in prison if convicted. Thanks for watching. Do you know other cases of mishandled guns? Tell us about them in the comments section below.